Man, this sucks. Proud Nordics is out, but I can't even play it yet. Huh? A notification? What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. We got some pretty exciting stuff to talk about today, and honestly, I'm kinda surprised I haven't seen anyone else make a video on this. But yeah, as you saw, Kondo has confirmed that the next East game is in development. Now, him just saying, yeah, we just started working on it, might not seem like that big of a deal. But from this recent interview and past ones, there's enough info here to at least start guessing as to what the next game could be. And that's exactly what I'm here to do. So, enough with the intro. Let's get straight to it. Alright, first off, the fact that we now know the next East game is happening might seem like brand new info, but we've actually known that it's coming for a while now. Way back in 2023, just 3 months after East 10 came out, Falcom were already mentioning the possibility of a new East game. Granted, at the time, they were kinda just tossing around ideas as to where Adol's next adventure should be. At the time, there really wasn't much of anything to speculate on, since the next East game was quite literally just an idea in someone's head. However, in the middle of 2024, there was another interview with Kondo, this one at Anime Expo. While talking about East 10 and the future of Falcom, the question of Adol's age in the next game was brought up. Many people, and including myself, really want to see a game featuring an older Adol. Above 24 at the very least. Adol being 17 again was a pretty unexpected jump back in the timeline when East 10 was first announced, but after getting to play the game, I have to say, it was a pretty good idea. Adol's love for adventure and just wandering everywhere is way more noticeable in this game, with him being younger. That childlike sense of wonder from exploration felt like it affected both Adol and myself when I was playing. Although there is something about an older, more mature and experienced Adol that can be just as appealing. And it's kind of unfortunate that we haven't gotten to see that part of him more often. However, there might just be a glimmer of hope on that front. In that Anime Expo interview, Kondo said that following up on East 10 with a more mature adventure is something that he would love to do. He also stated that doing so would fit with what they had going on currently. What did he mean by that though? Maybe the story idea he has in mind for the next game would work better if Adol was older? But then that would only add even more questions. What the hell is he cooking? Unfortunately, we kinda just don't know for sure. But there is something we can now say for certain. The stove has been turned on. In yet another interview with Kondo in July of this year, he confirmed that the next East game is now in early development. Of course, the official announcement of the next game is still pretty far off, but the fact that we know it's actively being worked on now is pretty hype all on its own. Taking all the relatively vague info we have as of now, I've got 3 pretty decent guesses as to what the next East game could be. Although at the end of the day, it's still just speculation. I mean, it's not like I work at Falcom. Or do I? Anyways, as for my guesses, I'm gonna start with the least likely one first, which might be surprising in all honesty. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, the East 5 remake dream might be dead. At least for now anyway. I might just be reading too deep into this, but based on the wording from the latest interview, the fact they specifically said East sequel and not just next East game makes me think the remake isn't happening just yet. On one hand, I would be kinda glad that the remake isn't happening yet, since it would give Falcom more time to flesh out East 10's combat system. I'm gonna be honest, I have no idea how the cross-action system would work outside of East 10. If the 5 remake adds Dogi back into the game, like in the original story draft and the PS2 version, I could kinda see it working pretty decently. Plus, depending on when this new game comes out, it would be the 40th anniversary of East. And dropping a remake of a game that most fans overseas just weren't able to play would be amazing. But again, based on the wording from the interview, it has a lot of people, including myself, thinking that the next game isn't actually a remake of East 5. Don't get me wrong, I really do want it to be the remake, but it's not like I'm gonna be disappointed if it's a brand new game. And speaking of, let's talk about the other, just as obvious guess. Now, I'm not just guessing that the next game is going to be Ys 11. I want to put my bets down as to where it's going to take place. Since Kondo said following up on Ys 10 with a more mature adventure is something that he'd love to do, that would naturally place the game a bit further down the timeline, with Aro being older as well. My first guess is that Ys 11 is going to fill in the gap between Ys 8 and 6, where Aro would be either 21 or 22. To be completely honest, back before we got any info on Ys 10, I thought for sure that was where the next game would be on the timeline, but that clearly wasn't the case. Honestly, having a game set around that time would be pretty cool, since we know that after Ys 8, Aro was in Greek, the Ys equivalent to Greece, for some time before Ys 6 happens. Getting to have a proper adventure in the region would be really fun depending on what Falcom does both gameplay and story-wise. Plus, with how good Falcom has gotten with graphics as of recent, I just know a region based on Greece would look straight up beautiful. Alright, that guess was pretty safe. For this final one, I want to get a bit wild. If they decide to hold off on going to Greek for a while, then Ys 11 could end up being a pretty major game. For this guess, I'm gonna say that Ys 11 is gonna be a pretty big time skip, taking place 5 years after Ys 9, where Aro would be 29. It'd be kinda similar to Oath and Fogana, but this time they travel to Aro's hometown for the next adventure. With a premise like that, and with the cross-action system still being in use, it'd be the perfect game to have Dogi as a party member again. He hasn't been playable since 2009, or 2010 if you count Ys vs. Shells. Getting to see where Aro grew up, learning more about his past, and finally getting to play as Dogi again would make for a generational game for the 40th anniversary of Ys. I can already imagine running around fighting enemies as Aro, switching out to Dogi to pull off combos, and the two of them doing flashy team-up attacks, just like Aro and Karja do in Ys 10. It'd be so peak, I just know it. And yeah, that's pretty much all I had to say. With the confirmation that the next Ys game is being worked on, I couldn't help but start wondering what kind of game it could end up being, where it could take place, and what kind of areas we'd get to see. I'm not usually too keen on speculating just off of small bits and pieces of details, but I guess it isn't so bad every once in a while, especially when it's about a series you really love. And even then, there's still more stuff I could have gone over, like if any of the characters from previous games could return, or if the game would take notes from Sky the First and be at least somewhat seamless with hardly any loading screens. There's a lot to ponder on and a lot to be excited about. The future of Ys and Falcom as a whole is looking real bright, and when that new game gets announced, trust and best believe that I will be there no matter what. Anyways, that's all from me. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe. Alright, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.